the top commander on the ground in Afghanistan, but is he being second-guessed by the vice president? Joe Biden's recent plan to narrow the focus of the war in Afghanistan flies in the face of General Stanley McChrystal's request to send in more troops. So who should the president be listening to, the vice president or the general on the ground? Joining us right now are three lawmakers who are either still serving this country or have recently finished their service: Ohio State Representative Josh Mandel, Massachusetts State Representative Harold Naughton Jr., and Carrie Lee Baker, a state senator from Florida. Senator Baker, let's start with you. Give me a little look at your military resume.
Sure. I'm currently a first sergeant in the Florida Army National Guard, and I have served now for a little over 28 years.
All right. Josh, tell me about your background.
I was a Marine intelligence specialist, did 2 tours in Iraq, served in Iraq in 2004 in Anbar province, and then went back as part of the surge in 07 and 08 in Haditha.
And Harold, how about you?
Sure, Steve. I've been in the U.S. Army Reserve since 2003. I served in Kuwait and then in Iraq from 2005-2006, and I'm still a drilling reservist, a captain in the U.S. Army.
Terrific. Well, gentlemen, thank you all for your service and continuing service, since you're now involved in lawmaking. Clearly, you know what is involved in Afghanistan. But right now, you've got two different philosophies. One, McChrystal wants more boots on the ground, and then you've got Joe Biden, who would like to scale things back and do things more surgically with drones and stuff like that. Senator Baker, let's start with you. Who should the president be listening to?
Well, he ought to listen to the people he hired, and that's General McChrystal. The fact is, adequate troop strength is critical to mission success. Matter of fact, it's critical to the safety of the troops. If we want to really protect our troops, we need to make sure they have adequate troop strength as well as adequate equipment. So I would say that he ought to listen to the generals that he hired. This should be a military decision and not a political decision.
Josh, what say you?
Well, Steve, I think it's important to listen to our military commanders on the ground and trust our military commanders on the ground. And if we trust what they're saying, as we should, we will then give forth the proper resources to protect our troops on the ground, and I think it's important to go that route.
Well, Harold, one of the reasons that Barack Obama chose Joe Biden was he had all this foreign policy experience. So you would think that he would certainly pay attention to what Joe has to say.
I don't think the two arguments are mutually exclusive. The vice president is arguing for a counter-terrorism fight, and General McChrystal is arguing for a counterinsurgency fight. I think a counterterrorism action can be a lesser included element of the counterinsurgency fight. So I think you may be setting up a false dichotomy here. I think the argument that the vice president is making can actually be part of what General McChrystal is asking for, and I actually think in the end the president will send troops tied to some benchmarks of performance, including looking at how they can work on a more close basis with the local tribal leaders and local leaders because of how delegitimized the federal government is in Afghanistan.
A good observation. All right. Guys, stand by. More coming up with our panel on the other side of this quick timeout. Then a sideline reporter gets knocked out after knocking heads. All right, thanks for joining us on this Monday. We continue with our panel today. All these guys are legislators in their home states and also have served our military in various capacity. And we're talking a little bit about Stanley McChrystal, who has asked for more troops. Senator Baker, down there in Florida, let's start with you. What do you make of the fact that it sounds as if McChrystal got a little rebuke from his boss, well, not his boss, but from James Jones, the White House security guy, yesterday, because when asked about McChrystal has taken this his campaign to get more troops to the public, you know, he gave a speech, he was on 60 Minutes and stuff like that, he said it was unseemly. What do you think?
Well, I don't think so. I think we expect a lot of our military commanders, and one of the things this nation should expect is that they be candid and forthright. And so I think his comments were appropriate. I can tell you, as someone, I served as an infantry first sergeant in Iraq, and I always appreciated the fact when I knew that my military commanders We're speaking the truth. We're telling what was honestly going on, their needs, communicating with the American people. Now, I understand they're subordinate to the president, as am I. But the fact is that they have a responsibility to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. And so I felt what he did was more than fair. Matter of fact, I would expect it out of him as American commander and as an American.
All right. Harold, what about you? You know, on the floor of the Senate this past week, John McCain said the reason that General Jones is taking his time and playing his cards close to the vest was he was kowtowing to the political left. You would hope that politics wouldn't be involved in something like this. Are they?
Well, all due respect to Senator McCain, I wouldn't agree with that. I think what General Jones is doing, as well as what General McChrystal is doing, is exactly what General Petraeus did before the surge and what General Powell did during his time. And they're asking a lot of questions. They're asking, where do we want to end up here? What is our end goal? The administration owes the troops on the ground a clear and concise and consistent policy, and to deliver that policy to their commanders, to General McChrystal, so that he can develop a strategy that is going to, one, protect the troops on the ground, and two, accomplish the mission. We have to decide what that mission is going to be, and they're all asking questions right now, and that's what a military officer does.
Josh, what about you? There are politics involved in this, aren't there?
Well, I have a great deal of respect for General Jones, a former commandant of the Marine Corps, and I think he is above politics. At the same time, I believe that General McChrystal should be trusted. He is the military commander on the ground, and I believe our policymakers need to trust our military commanders on the ground to make the decisions that are best for mission accomplishment and also for protecting our troops on the ground there in Afghanistan.
All right, well, we'll have to find out what they finally do decide, and we hope it's prompt. All right, Carrie and Josh and Harold, we thank you all for joining us live early on this Monday, and thanks once again for your service.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Brian and Gretch, what's going on in the green?